Welcome, everyone, to this evening's City Council meeting. In keeping with our long-standing custom and tradition, we'll begin the meeting with a moment of silent reflection. And I ask that we particularly keep in mind our friends in Texas who are still bailing out from Hurricane Harvey, and our friends in Florida who are now confronted with Hurricane Irma. So let's keep those folks in our special prayers. Thank you very much. And Mr. Matt Kerner, special guest this evening, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That gives new definition. New definition to pregnant pause. Right? I was going to have, so if I start him out, maybe he'll get the rest of it. Yeah. Horrible stuff. Well, this is the perfect segue into Matt Kerner being here, who is, my byline. I think the T-shirt should have said, "Ha ha, no laughing matter," but Matt Kerner is here to tell us about the goings-on in Jawbone Park from about noon till about 8 p.m. this Saturday. Do you want to come up and address the council and tell us about Saturday's festivities?
Thanks for having me again. I'm starting to feel like a frequent flyer.
There you go.
Well, what we have going on Saturday is right around 30 different speakers, talking about a variety of things. We have elected officials. The Attorney General's office is going to be here to share their perspective on the substance abuse problem that we're dealing with. Some hopeful elected officials. There's some candidates have asked to speak here. And the overwhelming majority of the people sharing are going to be sharing about their personal recovery, not in great detail, but in general terms. And they all come from a variety of different recovery modalities and recovery pathways, which is one of the things that we're trying to do here is celebrate the fact that there are and build unity between people who come from a variety of different recovery backgrounds. So there'll be people here from religious recovery programs, people here from spiritual but not religious programs, and people from secular recovery programs. We'll also have several people sharing from the perspective of a family member, somebody in recovery. We have one woman in particular who I happened to be at the same event with a few weeks ago, who's had the experience of one daughter who died from an overdose, and now has another daughter that's kind of been in and out of recovery, and is one of a growing number of people here in our region, even nationally, she's a grandmother who's been forced back into the role of being a parent again because the actual parents of the children are unavailable. So but overall, we're trying to build this on a positive note, bring all these people together. So from their perspective, we'll be trying to get everybody to realize that even though they recovered in a different way than I did, we don't really care. That's great. As long as they recovered, we don't care how it happens. And we built community for us and try to give ourselves a voice. For a long time, we've let other people make decisions about how we should be treated, about how addiction should be handled. And we really feel that we're probably the best qualified to give advice along those lines based on our experience. The other goal is to end the stigma around addiction. As I've talked about before, a lot of people don't seek help because they don't want to embarrass their families. They don't want their kids to go get the help they need because they don't, they feel that it's something that they should be ashamed of, and we want to end that. That stigma affects how recovery systems of care are funded. Treatment and recovery services for addiction are extremely limited. There were over 20 million people last year in the United States who were identified as needing treatment, and only about 3 million people got it. There just wasn't enough infrastructure available to support the need. And hopefully if we can remove some of the stigma, we can start changing how those systems get funded. But we think it's going to be a good time. In addition to speakers, we have 2 bands. Whiskey Shakes will be opening up. Davison Brothers will be playing from 3 to 4:30. And then we have a DJ who's also in recovery coming from Huntington to fill out the rest of the day for us. So we're going to try to mix things up. A little music, somebody speaking, a little more music, somebody speaking, so we don't try to keep it entertaining, try to keep people engaged.
There will be a memorial moment at the outset.
Yes, I think we're going to start that at the beginning. I forget what the count is, but we've had people in my program, other people have reached out to me. I think we're close to 100 names of people that are directly connected to people that are going to be involved in this, who have passed away in the not too distant past from substance abuse.
Well, we appreciate you taking the lead with this, Matt, and we're most pleased to partner. We'll try to get as many folks out as possible. We did another press release earlier today and sending it out near and far. So the more folks that we can get there, the better. If the Davison Brothers are playing, you're going to have a crowd.
They'll bring their own crowd.
So that's right.
We have speakers coming from all over the state. I have people from Beckley, people from the Southern Coalfields, people from Wheeling, people from Parkersburg. So,
Matt, how long have you been in Buckhannon?
I lived in Buckhannon for about 6 months in 1985, then I went in the Army. I actually moved back here in 1991 when I discharged, and have kind of been in and out of the city for a while. I lived here for a while. I keep coming back here. There's something about Buckhannon. I was here for a few years, lived in Preston County in Morgantown for a while, ended up back here, moved back to Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Erie, Pennsylvania, and I got my daughter's mother to move up there, and after one winter we were back here. She wasn't built for that. And I worked in a job for several years that basically kept me on the road. I was in California for most of about a 5-year period, various other places around the country, and then ultimately came back here around 2005.
When did the Opportunity House open?
Opportunity House opened in 2005. I was involved with it then.
Okay.
Actually, we were incorporated in 2004. I don't think they started accepting clients until early 2005. They were a little, some bumps in the road.
Thanks for the work you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions for Matt before we let him take his leave and continue to press your T-shirts? You're making T-shirts for the event.
I like your shirt, by the way.
Thanks.
You selling them?
I saw you
Yeah,
barbecuing
yeah.
this afternoon. Did you bring any ribs with you?
Then if you want to stop by, we'll be going all night. I've got 150 pounds of pork and about 100 pounds of chicken.
So we've got food vendors and there's, it's a full array of things. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it very much. Ron Pugh has to address the council. Mr. Pugh?
Only if there were questions. I have none. Thank you.
Ah, well, that's good. You can't speak anymore now. Yeah, it's our keeping with another long-standing tradition. They're still trickling in the back of the room. The Wesleyan students, we ask that you stand and face the camera and give us your name, hometown, and your major course of study. So we'll start here in the second row. Katie Kuba says she's not a student. She looks young enough to be one.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Do I need to stand
Yes,
up?
sir. Stand up and face the camera.
So I'm Alexander Yanovsky. Originally I'm from Russia, but I live in Spain. I'm a major in sport business.
Thank you.
Cameron Moore, originally from Philadelphia, raised most of my life in New Jersey and sports business as well.
Where in Jersey?
South Jersey, down near like Wildwood and Ocean City area.
I grew up in Hatfield.
I went to school over in Hatfield, Paul 6.
My name is Jalen Melvin, born in Nebraska, raised in Maryland, and I'm a business administration major.
I'm Lucas Leipold. I'm from Austria, and I'm a sports business major.
Rebecca Hagamotza from Germany, and my major is business.
My name's Sean Snyder. I'm from Maryland, Boonesboro, Maryland, and studying business administration.
My name is Ian Fraley. I'm from Bridgeport, West Virginia, and I'm studying business administration.
Hi, I'm Alicia Alderman. I'm from Ravenswood, West Virginia, and I'm also doing business administration.
Thanks to you all for coming out tonight. I know you had nothing better to do than to come spend a couple of hours with the city council. We're glad to have you.
The mayor also said since you're late, he's going to knock you down one grade.
That's right. That's right. The ones that came in 7 minutes late, you guys are all Fs for the semester. That's Mr. Thomas's email.
Mayor, the young lady in the back, except her, could you stand up? Because she was here before I was.
Yeah.
There you go.
No bonus points for coming early.
Sorry about that.
That takes us down to department and board reports. And first up is Jerry Arnold, our Public Works Director. How did you get to go first tonight? Did you pay somebody off out front?
He's got to leave after.
I like your thinking, Thomas.
Graft and corruption at City Hall. How about it, Mr. Arnold?
Under Director, I've offered an overtime opportunity to the city employees to assist in the removal and installation of flooring in the theater. We had a estimate from a contractor and felt that we could do it more efficiently with our employees in an overtime situation and allow them to make a little extra money as well. Received unofficial notification that we will be the recipient of a significant grant award. Again, I know that's elusive, but pending when the governor schedules to make the official announcement, we can't divulge the information on the project or the amount, but I will say that it's a very significant project.
Nothing like a good teaser to get.
Absolutely. Now you can't wait till the next.
You can't tell us what it's for, Jerry?
No, Dave, I can't. I don't want to jeopidize.
The governor's office is asked to make the announcement, Dave, but it'll be coming.
Oh, that's great. I'm just kidding. Actually, you forgot, Dave.
Supervisors were working on scheduling the first employee safety workshop. We'll be enlisting the speakers from Brick Street and the Upshur County Health Department as part of that. We haven't come up with all the topics yet, and Amby will report a little more on our supervisors meeting in her report as well. Water Department began flow testing to provide the data for the consulting engineer firms for the hydraulic study of our water system. This preliminary study is being funded by the gas company to establish what upgrades will need to be undertaken to provide the requested water service for the ACP pipeline going through Upshur County. Also, Kelly and Jay visited some of the neighboring water systems to take a look at what they had for the early warning monitoring systems. A couple different platforms available, so they wanted to take a look at what some of these people had and ask some questions. Try to gather some information so we can make the best of what we're looking to do for early warning monitoring. Lease and drive in the sewer department. Patrick Martin's scope of services has increased in an additional 250 feet of 8-inch sewer and one more manhole for that project, Wood Street, Wood, Braxton, Ritchie. The crew stopped on that. A couple of the guys are helping for the work on the clarifier project, which started on August 28th, the painting of that project. Sam's nearly completed the storm sewer inventory, and they've purchased a couple pieces of equipment, a walk-behind concrete saw, and a plasma cutter and sewer. Waste Department, we're looking into the software for the toter program. You remember that we already bid that out. We've got a good price on the toters. Be making the initial order, but we're checking into software to make sure that we can interface something or try to interface something with AMB's current software in City Hall. Also, we rebid a road tractor because of the inability of bidders to meet specifications. Street Department, we're returning to the work on the Traders Alley project, and we've received the executed agreement from John Moss on that project. Also, Jawbone is complete with the exception of a couple storm drain inlets that we have to do on a light base down there for the statue. We're scheduled to begin the Ameriprise parking lot project week after next, which is week of the 17th, if weather permits. Also, we're going to start working on the North Buckhannon Park. You remember we have the grant for the ADA upgrades at North Buckhannon Park. Hope to start working on those parking spaces that have to be excavated and they use a pervious material. So we're going to be working on them starting next week, hopefully. The dog park, the large breed enclosure is completed. The benches have been fabricated, will be installed over the next few weeks, and we'll be ordering the water fountains fencing for the small breed section of the park. That's yet to be done. If you haven't been there, I talked to Maria coming in, and she said she's been over there, and every time she's over there, there's people using the dog park. So, and kudos to that group for making it happen. So, under engineering, the freshwater mussel survey has been completed. There were no mussels found, awaiting the final report of finding for submission to the Army Corps of Engineers. We did meet with the Army Corps of Engineers, and right now, if they are kind of in a limbo as far as what they want us to do on that project. If things stay status quo, we just continue to make the clearing effort that we've done. Bridge abutments, keeping the debris out of the river, that kind of stuff. However, if they change or revert back to the original scope of the project, then that's when it comes into we have to clear all the trees, make sure that there's no vegetation over 8 inches high, all the way up to the water line. And if that happens, we essentially don't have the funds or the resources at this point to make that happen. So we're waiting on them to see, and again, this has been in about a 3-year limbo, and they weren't sure when there would be a ruling as to what would be the criteria moving forward at this point in time. So as soon as we know that, then we know the course of action. But until then, we're going to stay steadfast in doing what we've been doing.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The mussels I wanted to know about how long. It's 3 years or 4? For the testing, to get the results of it.
Actually, no. It was a year, but the test or the survey is only good for 2 years.
Oh, and they have to do that how often?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
And that's what I'm saying about the project. If we do not have a determination from the Corps of Engineers that they're going to hold us to the original standards of the project, then if we don't have that 2 years, that freshwater mussel survey was for naught.
Right.
Because we didn't have, we can't do anything. There's nothing saying that we have to do it.
And our hands were also tied at the time because of that, so we couldn't, if we could have, which we couldn't have, there was to get the not dead trees, the trees that had fallen in the river and stuff. Not just the banks,
Right.
but the big trees that had fallen in the
Right.
river. Okay. I just want to make
Update on the city's annex to the regional hazard mitigation plan has been completed. There'll be a public meeting to discuss the plan on September 12th here at City Hall at 6 p.m. Victoria Hill water tank construction inspection activities. Once notice to proceed is issued, Mid-Atlantic to begin construction activities within the next 2 weeks. And the groundbreaking is to be held on September 14th. The mural project, Jay's working on the West Virginia DOH, yeah, easy for me to say, West Virginia DOH parking lot permit. And Raz has been working some on the storm sewer for that project. Again, that's another sidewalk project we have on the shoot for the mural on another green space opportunity on that, which will also make that lot much safer as far as exiting to Locust Street.
We're continuing to try to work with Rite Aid on the other side to dress up the landscaping on
I
there.
have made additional calls and I'm about to start with corporate.
Good.
Good luck. Yeah,
Jerry,
it's like home teeth.
Yeah.
Jerry, let me go back up to the sewer department there. That 250 foot of 8-inch sewer, what is that zoned out there?
It's not in the city limits.
It's not in the city limits?
No,
I didn't think it was.
Yep.
It's just beyond the airport entrance.
So Jerry, this early warning monitoring system for our water supply,
Yes, sir.
is this to determine whether there's contaminants before we draw it into the system?
It is, and again, if you remember, we received grant monies to install one of these devices that can be land-based or floating type pontoon in the river. And where it is placed now, we would have about a 10-minute warning if something was detected that it's checking for. And that would automatically shut our raw water intake pumps down until it wasn't drawn into the plant, contaminated the entire system at that point in time. What the additional we're looking at in cooperation with providing water for the pipeline is additional funding for a couple other stations that gives us even more reaction time for our pumps to be shut
be
down.
upstream further?
Upstream farther, but again, you know, the reason this particular station that's already funded is planned for that location is because it picks up all the tributaries except
Right.
for one in that location. So it has the highest ability of detecting anything in our system prior to it gets to the intake.
There's a plan in place that if this sensor goes off, what to shut down and flush out.
It will shut down the pumps, so it's never drawn into the plant.
Right.
Then once the contaminant moves downstream, then the pumps can be restarted. And as opposed to, and that was a lot of what happened in Charleston was it was drawn into the plant, distributed out on the distribution lines, went into all the storage tanks. And so you had millions of people potentially affected by that. And, you know, with Buckhannon system, as far outreaching as Buckhannon system is, that affects French Creek, Hodgesville. I mean, if it gets in the system, it's the entire system. So this stops it before, or has the potential to stop any contaminant getting into the system before it actually gets into our treatment plant.
So the machine automatically stops itself. It doesn't rely on any human.
Yes, it would shut down the pumps.
Any other questions, Mr. Arnold? Thanks, Jerry. Tell all the guys we appreciate them and terrific work on the part of all of our excellent employees.
Thanks, Sheriff.
This is Amby Jenkins going to bring us piles of money to tell us how well we're doing financially.
Turn right to the airport.
Those look wonderful. I like those.
It's my new nameplate right there.
Cody shadow.
They don't get it.
It's your code name.
Okay, so your balances in money market and checking August 31st was $621,293. Your CDs remain the same, $82,720. Historic landmark, $3,020. Stalker capital campaign, $150,000. And municipal stabilization fund, $510,000. In your package, you have your revenue and expenditure report. We expensed $92,000 more in expenses than we did revenues. We expensed $361,883, and we brought in $269,587 for the month of August. We're just getting in the ad valorem check, the big one where everyone's taxes are due September 1st. We actually got that check in today. So your balance will be a little higher at the next report. We got $360,000 today. During our last supervisors meeting, I'd asked the health department to stop in and do a little presentation because she called to talk about the annual flu clinic for our city employees, which is going to be held October the 10th, and from noon to 3 at the Public Safety Complex conference room. That's for employees to bring their families and their insurance card, and they can have the flu clinic right then. Other people can come in too, but they have to pay the $50. I think they offer some free clinics to certain individuals too. But anyway, she came in, Sue McKissick came in, did a presentation at supervisors meeting about life-saving training, naloxone, I think I'm saying that right. It's the same as Narcan training. They have some bags available for prescription drug neutralization where people can put their prescription drugs in this bag with a solution that they have with water, and it neutralizes those chemicals in that drug so they can be disposed of in our regular garbage. And then she talked about disposing of sharps like needles. They offer training for this Narcan to individuals and private citizens if they're interested. And they talked to us about how city employees would handle situations if they come across people under the influence or in situations where they need to handle drug paraphernalia such as needles that are on the street or in the parks. She also talked about programs within their group, within their department to combat the drug problem. And I'd also asked Matt Kearns to come in at the same time, which, since they're doing the same thing, and some of their efforts could be combined, and I thought there was more power in numbers and they could collaborate together. Citizens that might be interested in that training or any of those issues, contact the health department. Then I wanted to, on Saturday, during our Fall Fest, we're going to have craft vendors coming in, and I kind of wanted to announce that any crafters that are interested in getting a slot, contact City Hall or go on our website, and we're offering some space at the Stockert Gym for craft vendors. The proceeds from that will go to the Stockert Youth Center Capital Campaign. We're still working on the function that will allow citizens to report non-emergency issues and problems online through their app or computer. And we just got some training this morning on that, and that should be coming along pretty soon. And then the holiday banners that you had given funding for at the last meeting have been ordered, so those should be in soon for the holiday. Then this, I wanted to just kind of bring in the sample that they sent for the bricks for the dog park. People can go online and get applications for those and have anything written on them, and those will be placed in the dog park. I think this is a 4x8 and it's $35, and then there's an 8x8 that you can put information on for $70. And that's my report.
Thank you, Amy. Questions for Amy? Thanks, Amy. Appreciate you. Tom O'Neill is under the weather. Got a bug he's been working on, so get better, Tom. And Chief Townsend is here to tell us about fire department activities. We thought you were bringing a bunch of folks with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they all had previous commitments.
Wow. Better than coming to a city council meeting? Don't let my students. They might.
But they'll have to come back another time.
That's right.
So,
What do you got for us, Chief?
Apologize for that. First thing is, and some of you may know about this, it's new to me, sort of, THIRA, Threat Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment. It's part of the West Virginia Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and it is a requirement for certain federal funds grants. So we're working on that. It's a real good committee. It's Sean Dunrack from Port Region 4 and our police department, ourselves, the comm center, and EMS. So it's actually going to segue a lot into what we're doing as far as our CFAI, our accreditation, just discussing strengths and weaknesses, a lot of that. And we've actually all kind of agreed that communication is one of our weaknesses, one of them being electronic communication. We do have some antiquated equipment in the comm center especially. But someone brought, I can't remember who brought it, but an idea based on these emergencies that we're seeing in Texas and Florida and some of the past ones, where they would have a card, red on one side, actually a pretty big card, a poster type card, red on one side, green on the other, where citizens and businesses could just identify their status in a window. And I can tell you, it would be such a great boost if we could just drive down a street, through a neighborhood, or down Main Street, and just get a glimpse, a quick glimpse. We have about 8,000 to 9,000 residences in the county, and I'm sure we would never get 100% compliance, but it sounds like we'll be seeking a grant to do something like that. The details will emerge, but imagine that if we could just get a great assessment like that. I think it might be a really good idea. So that's a good thing that's already come out of this committee. We had a great budget year last year, and this year's starting off with a few challenges. I don't know if anybody saw our engine one. Sorry about that. You can just click it off. Pager's going off. It's just going to grab it before it went off the chair. Engine one had a kind of significant radiator leak, so we had to remove it and have it rebuilt. Haven't got the bill yet, but it wasn't anything we were planning for, so we'll see where that goes. But it's back in service. Everything's good. Our Squad 11 is burning some oil. It's still on warranty, so we're going to have that looked at here real soon. You granted us permission to buy a security system for this budget year. We've secured it. We got a really good deal on it. Found out that one of our new firefighters was the cable guy in his previous life. So he's actually
wasn't Larry.
We don't have any Larrys there, but he'll be able to marshal that installation, which will save us even more money. We bought our air compressor, and much to our surprise, we were able to buy a very large, very high capacity, high pressure, all-American regulator right here in town, or a compressor right here in town. So another part of that is we've actually found that you can use Schedule 40 PVC for the supply line. Now, I know we have probably contractor types in here, maybe a few raised eyebrows, but I've actually researched some places where it's in, and it actually works really well. Gentleman, well, actually lives out by Right Way Plumbing, has had it in his shop for 22 years with no leaks. So that's something else we'll be able to do on our own. We have the technology, we have the expertise to turn 90 degrees, so that'll save a lot of money. We have an expo, a public safety, first annual public safety expo, and I'm sorry we're not on the list that everybody has in the packet about all the flyers I see they're out, but we will make sure we get that to you by the next meeting. so that can be included in the packet. It's October 7th, 11 to 2 at the Tractor Supply parking lot. And there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a extrication demo, truck demo, canine demo. It says taser demo on it. You don't want to miss that. I've never seen that. But anyway, we'll get some more information to you.
What date was that, Jim?
It's October 7th at 11 to 2. And again, I apologize for the gentleman not being able to be here tonight. Another capital project we're working on is replacing lights in the whole public safety complex. And we're just still looking to select the best light for the best bang for the buck. We have a unique situation. Our conduits are right over the engines. The lights were installed in the original right over the engines. Well, a lot of light goes on top of the engines where it doesn't do anybody any good. So we're looking for a special one that banks it off and doesn't put any straight down. So again, we'll be able to get less wattage and more lumens down where we need it, where our working areas are. I'm pretty excited. Our electric bills are gonna go way down when those are all in. Finally tonight, it's September 7th, and another anniversary of 9/11's coming up. And I'd just like to share, there's a lot of people that call policemen, EMS people, and other rescuers heroes, but we have our heroes too. And personally mine are those gentlemen from Flight 93, Tom Burnett, Jeremy Glick, Mark Bingham, Todd Beamer. I think you've heard those names in the past. Very moving what they did. To me, they're real American heroes. Just this morning, I was watching TV as I was getting dressed for work. I saw a whole new hero I'd never heard of. Has anybody ever heard of Wells Crowther and know his story? There's a movie that comes out tomorrow, and I think it's limited across the country, but it's called The Man in the Red Bandana. And it's quite a story. I just got part of it this morning, looked it up a little throughout the day. I hope it's in our town or somewhere we can drive to see it, but I would just urge people to see it. It sounds like a very touching movie. Another civilian hero who happened to be a volunteer firefighter. So that's what.
What's the name of the movie again?
Man in the Red Bandana.
Yeah, they had his parents on one of the early morning talk shows.
I saw his mother.
Yeah.
So.
Other questions for Chief Townsend? Tell all the guys to be safe. Every time, I live right around the corner from the fire station, and it's the first thing that goes through my mind every time we hear a siren. It's, geez, what are they getting into now,
We've had some rough ones in the last month, but everybody's doing very well.
Yeah.
Thanks for the wishes, though.
Well, when you mention 9/11, I think the country, the citizens have a much deeper appreciation for firefighters since 9/11. That's just my observation.
Yeah. Mary?
Yes, Mayor and Jim. The American Legion is going to be receiving, what do you call them, David? Proclamations. I think it's this coming Monday, in remembrance of 9/11. If you or any of your firefighters, and I'll let Chief Gregory know also, if y'all would like to come here and be with us, because I would love it if you would do that. Okay?
Monday afternoon, I believe.
Monday afternoon at 2. At 2.
Where is it again?
Right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We do that to acknowledge and remember publicly, so we can remind the community of that day. So it would be fitting if you all could be here also.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Correspondence and information, you've got a ton of things in your packet. You have a letter, it's actually an invoice from the Upshur County Development Authority reminding us of their request for $40,000. We've appropriated $30,000, and we've basically told them that we'll reassess this as we get into the new calendar year, which is the halfway mark of our fiscal year, to see where we are. But we're ever mindful of their need for funding. You have the executed letter of agreement with John Moss with the city regarding the Traders Alley project that Mr. Moss will be dedicating 2 or 3 feet of a strip of property down there for sidewalk development and some other improvements. You've got the freshwater mussel surveying results that Jerry Arnold alluded to under the engineering component of his report. There's a letter from the USDA, Civil Rights Compliance Review and Security Inspection. Amby, that's a very routine kind of a thing, but it's the first time that they've done that in the 3 or 4 years that we did the financing on the new armory project.
Yes, they sent a representative to come and see that we were in compliance, and CD Laura and Sean both went with me, and we went out there, and they were very pleased with the facility and happy with her.
Routine kind of a thing. You have a flyer from the matter that Matt Kerner addressed at the outset of the meeting, the Hope and Help Assembly, again this Saturday, September 9th. There is a flyer that the erstwhile Jerry Arnold put together on the Buckhannon Truck Fest for September 15 and 16. Remember, on the 16th, that's being held in conjunction with the Stockert Youth Center's Children's Festival. So that'll be a happening place that weekend. You have a flyer on a free movie, Sprint Under the Stars, at Jawbone Park. That begins September 16th at dusk. Again, that originally was identified as being in our North Buckhannon Park, but they've moved that to Jawbone Park. There's a flyer in your packet for Fall Fest, September 27th through the 30th. Amby and Jerry, neither one said a whole lot about that, but we'll hear more about it at the meeting on the 21st. But we've been meeting weekly now. We've had, we've been meeting for a couple of months about this. It's going to be a terrific event. There'll be something for everyone. Gamble Amusements will be back in town with almost the full carnival. We'll tie in Friday night with Festival Fridays, lots of festive things in Jawbone. And then on the 30th, there's a 5K to benefit the Upshur County Recreation Park folks. And then later in the day, we're going to have a Battle of the Bands in Traders Alley. And then we'll move up the street. We're going to close Main Street beginning at 5 o'clock Saturday evening. And we're going to have Gene and Sandy Thorne doing a historical reenactment, followed by square dancing and some other fun things, including rides, tractor rides with pulling hay wagons and all this kind of great stuff. So something for everybody. More to follow about that at the next meeting. You also have in your packet the press release concerning the dog park grand opening that was held last Friday, September 1. You have the 2017 State Auditors Training Seminar information that Amby and Barb, I guess, are planning on going to. We have a letter that I, at the urging of some local citizens, signed going to Senator Manchin, asking that he endorse the broadband internet connection revisions that the FCC has had for some time. We could do better than what we've got, and that's what that letter is about. And then on September 9th from 9 to noon at the Crossroads Recycling Center is a paper shredding event. So, yeah, if ha-ha isn't your thing, come out and watch some paper get shredded. You know, it's something for everybody. That takes us down to the consent agenda, and there are 4 items that make up our consent agenda this evening. I would ask for your approval of the minutes of our regular meeting from August the 17th, approval of the building and wiring permits, approval of the payment of our general fund bills, and we've also made, as part of the consent agenda, the dog park rules and regulations that were put in place last Friday, all in conformity with our insurance carrier and our city attorney. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Skinner. May I have a second to his motion?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Thomas. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for that question. All those in favor of approving our consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And that takes us down to strategic issues for discussion. First up is a letter from West Virginians for Energy Freedom, a request for a resolution regarding the Pleasance Power Plant. You all have that in your packet. Amby or Jerry, who actually, who received this?
It's addressed to you, Mayor.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
I get stuff every day.
It looks like it's just a notice that the rates are changing and everyone wants to be aware of it.
Well, let me read it. Dear Mayor McCauley and Buckhannon City Council, I'm writing to bring to your attention an issue affecting rates for Mon Power electric customers. Mon Power and Potomac Edison's parent company, Ohio-based First Energy, has announced that it wants MP/PE to purchase the Pleasance Power Plant currently owned by another First Energy company. Because the Pleasance plant is not as profitable as First Energy would like, the company has come up with a plan to boost shareholder profits. First Energy wants to offload the plant onto Mon Power and Potomac Edison, whose customers would be forced to pay all the cost of this plant, plus a guaranteed profit to First Energy. Consumers would bear these costs because of the rules governing West Virginia's electric utilities. If First Energy's scheme is successful, customers would be saddled with those costs for decades. A similar deal involving the Harrison plant purchased by MP/PE 3 years ago has already cost customers of those utilities more than $160 million and counting. West Virginians for Energy Freedom is a coalition of consumer advocates, businesses, energy efficiency and renewable energy advocates, and local government officials coming together to oppose this deal and to ask the Public Service Commission to protect Mon Power and Potomac Edison electric customers from unnecessary rate increases. I am writing to see whether the City of Buckhannon would consider submitting a resolution to the Public Service Commission in opposition to this sale. The Public Service Commission will be deciding whether or not to approve the sale this fall. A template resolution is attached. We would be happy to send a representative to a future City Council meeting to present it. Sincerely, Karen Ireland, Executive Director of West Virginians for Energy Freedom. And then there's a short resolution. I'm not going to read it right now, but it's in your packet as well. Council, what's your thoughts on the matter?
I'd like to see our electric bills stay like they are. They're high enough already.
Yeah.
I would prefer to have somebody as a representative, both from the First Energy and from the coalition or the, what's the name of the thing, David? What's that?
The West Virginians for Energy Freedom Coalition.
It'd be interesting to see both sides come to City Council and discuss what it's doing.
Why don't we do this? They said it's going to be later in the fall before this matter will be taken up by the Public Service Commission. We will reach out to both sides and invite them at an upcoming meeting, perhaps as early as the meeting on September 21, and ask them to share the details with us. Does that sound acceptable to council?
I would prefer that.
Does that sound good to everyone? So we won't take action on this tonight. We will simply table it until we can hear from the two camps. Does that sound like a fair way?
Good idea.
Okay. Second is, F2 is setting the date for trick or treat. And I think the proposal, as I understand it, is for us to have trick or treat on Tuesday, October 31, again from 6 to 7:30. We added that extra half hour 3 or 4 years ago. the little hobgoblins, goblins seem to enjoy that extra half hour. Mr. Skinner, do you still trick or treat? Is it
Up until I'm on the fence this year, up until last year.
He was banned.
Starting to get some gray hair, so I might want to.
Yeah, me too.
At least you have here.
Yeah, at least he's got some gray hair, that's right. So, council, I would entertain a motion that we do what we have done the past several years, that we have trick or treat on Halloween, and that we do it, let the kids do it from 6 to 7:30. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, sir.
I had a motion by Mrs. Albaugh. May I have a second to her motion?
Second.
Mrs. Capari nodded her head before you, I'm sorry. The second is by Pam Capari. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Are you going to dress up yourself, David?
I dress up every year at Halloween.
What is Lurch gonna wear for Halloween?
Oh, that's a secret.
No.
That's the big
That's the
question.
one day a year Lurch wears nothing. Well, I mean, you know.
Really?
Let me rephrase. Moving right along. I was baited into that by the press, by the way. We are going to table ordinance 419 on its first reading. Tom O'Neill has been under the weather for the past several days. We were going to get together and make some amendments and additions to that, and Tom just hadn't been able to meet with us to accomplish that. So that'll take us down to F4, which is ordinance 420, the ordinance amending our animal care and control ordinance to provide for off-leash area in the city park, the city dog park, and somewhere in this mess I've got that ordinance. Maybe. Does anybody have that ordinance?
I don't see it in.
Close by.
It's the third,
Was it
second
the
or
back?
third page from the back.
We'll read it by caption and caption only. This is ordinance number 420 of the city of Buckhannon, amending ordinance numbers 300 and 397, known, cited, and referred to as the Buckhannon Animal Care and Control Ordinance. As everyone knows, going all the way back to 2000-ish, when we adopted our first animal care and control ordinance, we prohibited dogs running at large in partial conformity with the state statute. There were some modifications just a few years ago to the ordinance. We now have a park that we want the dogs to run free. So that's what we're accomplishing with this ordinance. Are there any questions about that? Then I would entertain a motion that we approve on the second and final reading ordinance 420, the city of Buckhannon.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Albaugh. May I have a second to her motion?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Rylands. Is there any discussion on that motion? Maria, do you want to say anything about that? This is something that the Animal Care and Control Commission has recommended.
We are recommending it, and obviously that'll be the off-leash area and the only one in the city, because everywhere else they have to be on the leash.
Sure. Hearing of the need for no further discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The minutes will reflect that the motion carries unanimously. That takes us down to F5, a discussion about construction of a new pavilion at the Riverwalk. I would note that the Consolidated Public Works Board recommended the adoption of this project at its August 24th meeting. And Jerry, you're here. Do you want to speak a little bit about that and the preliminary concept that we're looking at, and enlighten the council so that we know what we're generally looking toward?
Well, with the creation of the dog park, that has established more people in or utilizing the walk trail with that, and the river, or the music on the river, and just the walk trail in general. It's a pretty big draw down there. We currently do not have a pavilion facility on the walk trail. So what that would do is provide that facility off of one corner of the boat ramp parking area there, the walk trail parking area. And in creation of the dog park, The water has already been installed, and with the ability to have, it is installed as such that we can provide water to the pavilion, and looking in the future to possibly another bathhouse facility down there along the river trail. So that's already in place, that facility, or those, that infrastructure is, as well as we'll be having a power service for the dog park, both for lighting and cameras. So with that power service, that could also serve these other potential amenities we have come along. So it's just it's a good fit. It's just an expansion of current park, but it just makes sense to have that facility there.
We were talking about a pavilion that would be a little larger than some of the others that we have, something that might be 30 feet by 40 feet or thereabouts, that you could have 50 or 100 folks for a family reunion or those kind of crowds. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, and I don't have the preliminary budget numbers available right yet, but again, that's something to consider.
Should include a high-resolution camera too, Jerry.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, that's one of the things, David, with the dog park is monitoring.
Now, is that, Mayor, is that on
City property.
city property?
The location of this would be at what would be the northernmost portion of the parking lot that is the city's property. We are developing, getting ready to stone the next new area of parking that's going to add about 60 parking spaces around the dog park. So if we end up taking a couple of the parking places at the upper end of that boat ramp parking lot, that'll be offset times 30 by the number of new spaces we're realizing around the dog park perimeter.
That would be nice over there, though.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the other element of this that, we've been talking for decades up at Wesleyan about the opportunity to realize an outdoor classroom kind of a thing. That if nobody books it during the day, Wesleyan students could, biology class could get on there and have their class for the day in the new pavilion. So wanted you all to be aware that there's a plan in the works, and that as we especially get closer, I doubt this is going to happen real fast this fall, but as we get closer to looking at budgetary stuff in February, that would be a project that we'd like to do perhaps early on in the 2018-19 fiscal year.
I think it would be a good idea to also include the city architect into this, and so he's able to possibly design the opportunity to meet as many needs, classrooms and otherwise, or picnics, or as many things as possible.
Sure.
And also to add some kind of
artsy
artistic element, and if it's raining, that it's a functional place to still be at, would mean a larger overhang over the concrete or whatever base we're talking about. So
sure,
just reach out and see what he has to say.
You mentioned restrooms too, right?
Down the pike, yes.
Yeah, down the pike, because they have the little porta toilets over there next to the fence, don't they?
No.
There are permanent restrooms over there on the river trail, right near the baseball stadium.
Oh, okay.
On Camden Avenue.
But it would be nice to have something self-contained there around this new pavilion as well.
Yeah, you could design it with them in and then add on later. As long as it's part of the original plan, it's not going to look goofy.
Well, similar to what we have at North Buckhannon Park and City Park, there would be grill areas you could cook out, that kind of stuff. Have a sink to clean your dishes, whatever. I think it'd be terrific. Maria?
Quick note, as part of the Try This grant, we have to monitor the increased activity. And the girls have been counting how many dog walkers and such, and there's already an increase.
Oh, yeah.
So we can demonstrate that a lot more people are using the area.
Yeah.
Okay, the more invitations we have to get people to use the public space, the better off we are, the better it's maintained.
Well, and we know the handicap fishing pier is coming. Buck Edwards is still pursuing the community rose garden down there. You'll have a full concert series with music on the river next summer again. It's a happening place. It just makes sense to continue to add to people's opportunities.
It's a healthy place,
It
David.
really is. It really is. Okay, so that's an update. And then, Amby, do you want to speak to, this is the annual appointment of the Audit Procurement Committee. It's a rather administrative kind of a function, but I'll defer to you.
One of the task councils with by the state of West Virginia. Last year, you might recall that you authorized a procurement committee. What a procurement committee for the audit does is they select from a list of approved, authorized CPA firms that can do an audit for us. The process is we have to send out RFPs, requests for proposals, to various CPA firms, and council is required to appoint an audit procurement committee who's familiar with the city's finances and hopefully with some financial background who can help select these CPA firms once they send back their proposals. I have asked the same three people that were on our last year's committee, and that would be Dave Thomas, Council Dave Thomas, Richard Clemens, Nancy Shove, and myself. And for this particular procurement, they are authorizing to select CPA for 3 years. So we would select a CPA firm that would audit us for 3 years.
And we wouldn't have to do this.
Won't have to do this every
Couple of
year.
years.
Last year was the first time for a while we've had only a 1-year procurement. This year it's a 3-year
And
procurement.
you should save some money annually.
Yeah, we would hope. So you've heard Amby's explanation, and her nominations would be the same folks that served in their steads last year. That is Amby, Dave Thomas, Rich Clemens, and Nancy Shove. May I have a motion to that effect?
So
I have a motion by Mrs. Capari and a second by Mr. Rylands. Is there discussion on that motion?
I'll recuse myself, David.
The minutes reflect that Mr. Thomas is recusing himself. That's not going to keep you from getting this, though, Dave.
I understand. Do I get an increase in salary?
No, we're going to triple your pay.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
Yeah, 3 times 0 is still 0. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the appointment of the Audit Procurement Committee as identified, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. And that takes us, I mean to tell you, we're talking 8:03. Jeez. Well, everybody gets to sing their favorite song because we can't get out of here this early. Comments and announcements. Mrs. Albaugh, what do you have for us?
Welcome, everybody. And have a good evening.
That's all you have?
That's all I want to say because I want to get out of here. I'm sorry.
Mrs. Capari, what do you have for us?
I just want to thank the council for giving me money for new downtown banners. Can't wait, and we're going to have new ones down at Jawbone. We have future ones for the safety complex when we get the lighting down there. Also, I'm having a downtown decorations committee meeting Monday evening at 5:30 here. I'd like for some people to join in. They would.
Mr. Arnold and his wife and daughter are working on pumpkins.
Yeah, I know.
We'll have to like proclaim it Arnold Day or something, you know. Yeah, that's terrific.
Arnold Day.
Arnold Day.
We already have a
Arnold was a
Arnold
pig.
Avenue.
Remember Arnold the pig?
And also, one other thing, Buffalo Wild Wings is going to do the 10% thing again for the Buckhannon Dog Park on October 18th. Everybody can come out and get 10% of what you spend goes to the dog park. And did you ever get the money the last time?
I don't think they sent the last check, did they? It's $227 and change is what's coming in. When I have the exact envelope, I'll let you know.
That's it.
Thanks, Pam. Mr. Rylands.
Well, since we didn't talk about the sewer rate increase, I just wanted to briefly discuss it since I've been credited with some of the action there. But so as I understand this increase, and the facts the way I see them is we currently have a sewer plant that's probably good for another 40 years.
40 to 50 years.
And that's only because of the efforts of the people in those group of people there. And we won't be put in a situation like a lot of other communities to go out and have to borrow $15 or $20 million at some point to build a new sewer plant. One of the core competencies of the city of Buckhannon, as I see it, is the ability of all these different entities, the sewer and the water and waste, to accomplish all these tasks in-house, where other municipalities have in some cases sold off these utilities to other companies, or they have to contract everything and they run into a problem and they have to stop and leave it all open, and whether it's a hole in the street, and get a change order and to modify it. So and part of this is also the fact that we are below the legislatively mandated reserve capital in this sanitary department. So, and at the restaurant we use over 50,000 gallons of water a month. So this particular 20% raise is going to cost me about $1,000 more a year. Now, I don't really want to pay $1,000 more a year, but I understand by operating in other municipalities what closing the restaurant costs me when there's water outages and closures and line breaks and all the things that go along with not properly maintaining your system. So I think, I have complete confidence in the citizens to make good decisions when they are given the facts. And being part of City Council, I have the opportunity to learn some of these facts, and hopefully that when we hire our communications person, that we can then communicate these facts to the rest of the citizens and try to mitigate some of this, I don't know what the correct term is, misinformation. I just wanted to touch base on the fact that I support this and I think you will too once you know all the facts revolved around it.
Yeah. Well, and as a footnote to that, among the roughly 400 regulated sanitary sewer entities, this is going to take us from about the 30% mark up to the 40% mark. We're still going to be among the lowest, even after the increase, we'll be among the lowest providers of sanitary sewage rates in the entire state. So anyway, but that's enough of that. Mr. Skinner, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Mayor. Couple things. Last week, Tom O'Neill, myself, Dad, the president of the college, Tammy Rigger, Curtis Wilkerson, and Linda Wellings, and a few others from here in Buckhannon. We represented our community at the West Virginia Chambers Business Summit. It was a 3-day conference down at White Sulphur Springs at the Greenbrier. Had a great time. Met with a lot of people that had so many wonderful things to say about this town. I actually had a chance to go into Lewisburg and talk to Mr. Manchester, who is the mayor of Lewisburg, West Virginia. He's a very nice guy, and I told him, I said, to come down here a lot, and I always thought that we should aspire to be the Lewisburg of the North, the northern part of the state. And he assured me that he thought that we were there, that people in Lewisburg are driving to Buckhannon to find out what we're doing. So that is good. It's great for us to be in those conversations, in those circles. The editor of West Virginia Living magazine, Nikki Bowman, who I will tell you in the beginning, when she started West Virginia Living, wasn't always the biggest fan of Buckhannon. She kind of thought it was a bump in the road on the way to Elkins. And being the lone BU grad on this council, that just makes my hair stand on end. But she told me that she, in starting her coalition of turn this town around, in working with places like Grafton here in the northern part of the state and Whitesville down in Raleigh County in the southern part of the state, Buckhannon comes up in those conversations as a place that those places want to be. So I think that we are doing great work here. All of the people in this community are coming together for one shared vision of us becoming the very best place in West Virginia to live, work, and play. In addition to that, I want to make sure that people understand there's been some confusion. I've heard it since a news story broke a couple weeks ago of 17 new businesses opening in our community in the month of July. The Secretary of State's office released that information. There really are 17 businesses. If folks are interested to learn what those 17 businesses are, they can go to the West Virginia Secretary of State's website and obtain that information. Some of them are recharters of businesses. So like, the bike store here, Gene and Sarah sold that. And it has a new name, so that counts as one of the 17 new businesses that is in our community. But, that we led the state in the month of July for the amount of new businesses opening in one place in West Virginia. And I think that speaks volumes to how business friendly we are as a community. And I think our development authority, our city council, our county commission, our chamber of commerce all have a hand in that, as well as our small business coach. So I think, I think the general point of my speech is, let's be positive. We have a lot going for us here, and I think it's easy to get kind of run down in seeing the nitpick negativity that affects us day in and day out. But I think we need to remember, we need to be positive. This is a wonderful place. In fact, this is a phenomenal place. And we don't have, there are places that only wish they could have a quality of life that's even a quarter of ours. So I think that we need to make sure that we are carrying out in public a smile and an upbeat tempo of, we live in Buckhannon and we should be pretty darn proud of it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner. Mr. J. David Thomas.
I have a few things to say. First of all, the kudos to the college and to the young men and women sitting in the room that are going to Wesleyan. One of the reasons why I think we're one of the better places to live in West Virginia is because of the college. And that's been a very integral part of this city for many, many years. And it's interesting to hear all the geographic diversity that these students, where they're from.
Yeah.
So, and that seems to be doing that a little bit more. I think there was only 2 or 3 students from West Virginia, and a lot of you are international students, and that's great. That's good to see. Jerry Arnold, I still get a bunch of calls about the street sweeper, and I think we need, and Pam, you said you do too, right? So we're doing a lot of exciting things, but there are people that like to see the street sweeper out there, and I think we need to do that. And I agree with about everything that CJ said. I appreciate what he does for the community. I had 2 of my kids were up here over the last 3 weeks. They're checking the old man, make sure I'm okay, I guess. But they just love Buckhannon. They come and they look at all the flowers and all the things that we're doing, the dog park, the river walk, the jawbone, et cetera, et cetera. And my daughters are 34 and 30. They both are graduates of Wesleyan, and they appreciate the college, but they say, gosh, Dad, the difference between when we were in high school and the college and the way the city is right now is great. You know me, my background, I always throw out a caution there, and I worry a little bit about this next budget year is going to be a challenge for us. And especially, we've lost quite a bit of money on not having parking fees, and I think we need to take a look at and see if that was the right decision or not, and it may have been. And I worry a little bit still about this new position that we're going to be advertising. I hope it's successful, and I think we need to monitor well, but I still have some hesitations about it. But overall, things are going great. Again, I appreciate, David, what the effort you're putting there. And it's very dynamic what we're doing as a city.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Okay, I have a short closing statement.
Really?
It's not even a full page. We're good.
Very short.
Let me see.
Small font.
We are extremely fortunate to live in a progressively minded community where our citizens regularly collaborate with our city employees to realize amazing things. There are several projects that bear that out going on right now in Buckhannon. In case you missed last Friday's dedication of our new dog park, it's a terrific thing. We all really need to thank and recognize West Virginia Wesleyan College, Tim Critchfield and High Point Construction, Chad Corley and Lowe's, Kelly Tierney and State Farm Insurance, the many citizen donors who collectively contributed thousands of dollars to help bring the project together, the dog park committee members, and especially Lisa Critchfield, Maria Bray, Robin Keogh, Alyssa Mills, Jenny Dixon, Brooke Scott, Steve Beer, Chris Scott, Allison Clausen, and others. But I especially want to thank our city employees who promptly graded the site, installed the water line to service the dog park, installed fences and gates, and made a Phase 1 dedication possible in a very short period of time. If you haven't been down to Jawbone Park recently, you're missing out on something special. Go check out the superb work that's been completed there by our city crews during the past few weeks. Our crews have been working in our theater too, and on Traders Alley, and undertaking improvements at our cemetery. During the next few weeks, new sidewalks and paving will be realized, completing Traders Alley, the City Seal mural sidewalk improvements, North Florida and First Streets, and portions of Kanawha Street. There will be improvements made to the Public Safety Complex parking lot and at Stockert Youth Center. We will be making improvements to the Charles W. Gibson Memorial Library, that is, the city library. You'll soon see improvements to our River Trail and the North Buckhannon Park. Next Thursday, we will break ground on a new 1.2 million gallon water tank. Our police and fire departments have commenced their preliminary work to achieve full professional accreditation. Our Stockert Youth Center continues to realize amazing things thanks to their dedicated staff. We couldn't do any of these projects without our terrific employees. Our hats are off to all of our exceptional employees, those excellent ladies and gentlemen who make Buckhannon the extraordinary place it is. We thank you again, and we truly are all in it together. Thanks for attending this evening's meeting. I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rylands, a second by Mr. Thomas. Discussion on the motion?
I'd like to have one.
Call for question. All those in favor of adjournment
Yes.
signify by saying aye. Those opposed, like sign of the article.
This is a record.